Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Minority Reportz podcast and digital series. I am your host, Mona Sheikh. You guys, 2 live streams in a day. I've never done this before. This is definitely a first. I'm trying to make up for yesterday since I couldn't do a stream because I had an online show. So here we are doing 2 live streams. So this is my second and final live stream of the day. And I saved best for the last, baby. That's what I did. I have a very special guest who is simply an OG. So I knew that she was an OG, and then I was researching her further and was like, oh my God, I have the honor of a legendary veteran comic who has been kind enough to extend me some time to chat with me. She's a fellow New Yorker, so I think maybe that's why I also have some extra love for her. But you've seen her on Late Night, you've seen her on Fallon, she's been on Carson, Leno, the list goes on. The very talented Wendy Liebman, how are you?
Thank you so much for having me. And yes, I am old, but I do love my new moniker. I had to ask you what OG meant. I didn't even know. And now I know. Old gangster. I'm going to put that on my CV, on my tombstone.
I think that's going to be your new tagline.
I think it is. It's fantastic. Well, it's a pleasure to be here with you. And I'm honored that you did 2 in one day. Oh my God. I sweep the kitchen and I'm done for the whole afternoon.
I'm so exhausted right now. I did a live stream 10 o'clock this morning with a, get this, gay Palestinian pop star who resides in East Jerusalem.
Oh, I know them. No, I'm kidding.
I was like, wait, what? What's happening here? So I had him on and we had just the best conversation. It's like, have you been to Israel?
You know what? I'm Jewish, and tonight is the second night of Hanukkah. Happy Hanukkah to those
Thank you very much.
people watching who are Jewish. But I haven't really embraced my Judaism. I love my people, but I'm not mitzvahd. I've never been to Israel. But my grandmother, who was agnostic or atheist, she was never moved by her religion, but she said when she got off the plane in Israel, she started weeping. So there must be something really magical about Israel. Have you been there?
No. I'm planning to come 2021. So
yes, so many plans that we've put off.
Yes, I would love to go to Israel. I would love to go to Palestine. I would love to go. I would totally love to go. I have friends now in Israel and Palestine now, so I definitely have to go. I have to go now.
Well, I have plans to go to the supermarket one of these days, and
you can Instacart, Wendy.
That's what I've been doing. I've been doing Instacart. I feel very spoiled that I haven't been in a real store since March, because my husband he has asthma. And so the thought of bringing him the virus, he said it would just kill him. So I just have to be really careful.
Sure.
And so I've been hunkered down since March with my husband. And I do my weekly Instacart every 3 days.
Every 3 days. That's are you one of those people when it comes in, you wipe everything down? I have a girlfriend of mine, she's like, I wipe everything down that comes in. I'm like, who's got time?
I did at the beginning because they didn't really know how it was transmitted, but now it seems like it's more airborne, and who has that kind? It's not even the time, because I have that kind of time, but it's like, you know what? I don't really think that's going to help. But I'm just so hopeful that it's going to be eradicated soon. This virus.
How are you feeling about the vaccine? Would you take it?
So I will definitely take it. And I wasn't really even a flu vaccine person until 2 years ago.
Wow.
But this is so weird. My husband posted a story on Twitter the other day, and this is a true story. You can check on Snopes.
Okay.
So when he was a little boy, he had the polio vaccine.
Okay.
And he was like 7. And his father was a composer. And when he came home from school, his father said, "What did you do today?" And he said, "We got the Salk vaccine." And his father said, "You let them give you a shot? Like you let them put a needle in you?" And he said, No. They put it on a sugar cube and we ate the sugar cube. And my father-in-law wrote the song, "Spoonful of Sugar Helps the Medicine Go Down," from Mary Poppins.
No.
And
way.
yes. And so my husband posted that story, my husband, Jeffrey Sherman, and it went viral in a way that we're just going, what is going on? Like the London Times picked it up and the BBC and Today.com and CNN Today made him the quote of the day.
Wow.
So anyway, my husband is saying, we need to trust the scientists now.
Right. Right.
But what about you? Are you interested in taking it?
100%. I'm one of the, I took the flu vaccine this year. So,
Right.
yeah, I took the flu and, yeah, absolutely. You know what it is, Wendy? What bothers me is when it's bad enough right now that people aren't wearing masks and not doing proper social distancing. Then it's like the anti-vaxxers. It's like, how many hurdles do we have to come over just to get back to any kind of normalcy?
Exactly. Yes.
Why are these people making?
You said you did a show online earlier or yesterday, and so that's what our lives are right now. I know some comedians who are performing in parking lots and upholds.
I've done those.
You have? How is that?
It's okay. It's not, it's nothing like performing, at a comedy club. It's nothing like performing in a room full of 800 people. It's like nothing is like that. Nothing.
Right.
And you know that, Wendy, what's like the biggest number of crowd you've done in your career?
The largest audience?
Largest audience number.
So when I first started doing comedy, I got booked for a show and I had never performed for more than like 30 people. And so I said, "How many people are there going to be?" And she said, 40 or 50. And when I got there, it was 450. So that was like the first time that I was like nervous in front of a large audience. So I realized then it didn't really matter how many people there were because I'm still just trying to perform to the one person who I might amuse. But I have performed twice for 5,000 people. Okay. Once was opening for the singer Richard Marx at the Greek Theater in the mid-90s. Wow. And then
that's the peak of his career. That's the peak of his career, right?
Yes.
I was obsessed with Richard Marx.
And then I'm surprised, I'm not surprised you know him. He's huge. And then a little later in the 90s, I got to open for Bob Hope in Indiana, and there were 5,000 people there as well. And then 2 or 3 years ago, I did a show that Dennis Leary runs called Comics Come Home, and it's for Boston comics, and he has it at the Boston Garden, and there were like 10,000 people there. Wow. So as I said, I can't wrap my head around that, and I just have to play to the people in my head who I think are laughing.
Yeah.
So, but it is like the timing is different. What about you? I know you're interviewing me, but I want to know about you.
Oh my God. Thus far, the largest crowd I've done thus far is 60,000.
What?
You know what it is, Wendy? My fear is that I'm never going to be able to top it. Like, that's it. Like
Oh
that might
my
be
God, I have to hear all about it. And if they could each just give you $1,
right? Just one.
like put a tip jar on stage at that point. What was the gig?
I emceed the Women's March in San Francisco. Yeah.
And so there must have been a lot of pussy hats.
So many pussy hats.
And people, like waves of laughter.
Wait, exactly. And I was going to ask you exactly that, right? When you do your crowd of 10,000, for 60,000, I would tell a joke and then hear it like roll, hear the laughter roll, hear the laughter roll, hear the laughter roll. And I'm like, okay, how many rows back do I go before I start telling the next?
I mean, sometimes the mic has cut out and I just tell the people up front to pass the joke back. But that is incredible. I can't believe you got to do that.
Yeah, it was a lot. Honestly, I don't even know how the hell I got that gig. Like, I think to this day, my mind is kind of jumbled up about how I even got that gig. Because I was at Politicon. Have you ever been to Politicon? In Pasadena, they usually do all the Republicans, the Democrats, everybody political gets together. They have these big conversations that are happening. I was there because I was helping a friend out at her stand because she has an organization, a nonprofit organization. I was just helping her out. She was like, hey, I'm going to go run this panel. Can you take care of my station? And I was like, yeah, sure, go for it. And then people started coming and talking to me. And these two brown-looking ladies walked up to me, and I was like, what kind of brown are you? And they started laughing. And they were like, we're Lebanese. I'm like, no way. And then we start talking and this and that.
Are you Lebanese?
No, I'm Pakistani. And I was just like, oh, that's so cool. We start talking. And then as I was leaving at that evening, I saw the same girl standing outside, and they were looking for an Uber. They couldn't find it because it was packed. You couldn't get an Uber to save your life. And I was like, ladies, where do you live? And they were like, we live in Glendale. I'm like, listen, I'll drop you off. Just get in my car. I'll drop you off. I was like, not to be creepy. I don't have candy to offer you. I was like, just get in my car. And they were like, okay, somehow thank God I wasn't creepy. And then they got in my car. I dropped them off. They invited me to their place. They, their mom was there. And
they had candy.
Then they had candy. They were like, you may not, but we have candy for you. And we just kind of became friends. And I was telling her, and it turns out that one of them is the co-chair of the Women's March in San Francisco. I didn't know who she was. I was just cracking jokes.
Right.
I was, you know how it is, Wendy. We meet people. We're just being our goofy selves, right? We're just being like, just doing whatever. And then she was like, and I asked her, I'm like, hey, like the upcoming March, and I was like, you got a comedian on it? It would be cool if you hire me. Hey. And I was like, I'm totally kidding. You probably don't need me. You probably need better people. I'm stupid. I was like, don't listen to me. And then she was like, hey, are you going to be in San Francisco soon? I was like, yeah, I'm actually going to be there doing shows and stuff. She's like, come by. Let's meet up. Let's have dinner, because she lives in San Francisco. And I went and met up with her. We didn't even talk about the gig. We didn't talk about nothing. We just cracked jokes and just had like the best time. And then I came back, and 2 days later, she's like, how would you like to MC the Women's March?
Oh my God. Well, that's how it works in this business,
You're
right?
So right,
it's not, there's no rule.
That's right.
It's really, it's not even who you know, it's who you are. And so you attracted them with your personality and your openness.
Yes.
And your friend who left you with the booth.
My friend with the booth.
I try to be open as well.
Yes.
And there was a year where I really wanted to host like the Oscars. That was my dream. Oh. And I have gotten to host like a few award shows, not televised or anything, but I love doing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was telling somebody about that, and they had me they, like a year later, they called me and they had me host a pilot. And it was like a stand-up show, but with just sketches and stuff. And I remember one of the women on the show, she was an unknown actress, and it turned out to be Rachel Dratch, who then went on to do SNL. But my point is, just because I opened my big mouth and I told these people who were driving me to a gig once that I wanted to host the Oscars one day.
That's it.
Yeah.
You know what it is also, Wendy? Do you feel like throughout your career, I mean, look, you've had a lot longer. I'm still I'm a little over a decade into this. You've been doing comedy for 25 plus years.
35.
35 years. Wow. Okay. Wow. I mean, my God, I'm a fetus compared to you. So
it takes a long time.
It does take a long time. I wanted to actually ask you, do you feel like what number of the year when you are doing comedy where you're like, I have found my voice, this is my voice, this is what I'm about, this is what my comedy is going to be about, from this is it. Like,
I mean, I get your question, and I'm not being funny when I say it.
I'm already laughing because that response is
but I feel like, okay, so all of life is about figuring out your voice, not just doing stand-up.
Yes.
Both how you say it, and what you're saying. So I've how to say things on stage.
Okay.
I'm still figuring out what it is I want to say. Like, I could tell a million jokes, which I do. That's what I do. I tell jokes. But I feel like I'm a work in progress. And I've just started writing like a musical and a novel. And so I have more voices than just telling jokes. But I do have an answer to your original question.
Yeah.
I would say it took me about 15 years to feel comfortable on stage.
Okay.
If that makes any sense. I mean, you're so ahead of the game. And I have a feeling like, you know how kids today, they have a lot of steroids in their food.
So my heart just...
No, but
you said that. I was like, that means a lot. Thank you so much.
I think people, like, evolution is speeding up progress in that, like, kids are maturing physically faster. And so I also think comedians progress faster because you have so many more outlets than I had.
Yeah, correct.
And... You know, I don't know if you have found this, but being a female comedian, I had more opportunities because they needed a female on a lot of shows. And this was in Boston in the late 80s.
Wow.
Or mid to late 80s. They just there was like that quota. They couldn't put two females on the same show, but they always needed one. So I feel like that helped me in a way.
I mean, that sounds, it's interesting you said that because I feel in certain situations it helps being a female stand-up comic for me, but in others it doesn't.
Right.
When it comes to like mainstream comedy club, but maybe because with me, Wendy, maybe being like a ethnic brown comic, maybe that plays a role. Where you're just kind of stereotyped to be like, oh, you're just going to talk about X, Y, and Z. So that's why we don't think you fit in like our regular comedy lineup, right? So like I remember auditioning for the Comedy Store and doing a fucking kick-ass job that day. And, I had people walking up to me. They were like, that was a great set. And I remember asking the booker, I'm like, so did I pass? Like what the deal is? And the booker like never got in touch with me, and it was nothing. And then I was just like, you know what? I realized I was like, I'm never gonna be given this opportunity to be on a regular lineup at the Comedy Store, right? Mm-hmm. I love the Comedy Store. Let me just say that is my home club in LA. And so I was like, hey, you know what? if you can't beat them, join them. So I went and pitched them a show, and I was like, how about I produce a show monthly called Minority Reports, which is what this podcast is based off of. And they were like, sure. I was like, people who do not fit the mainstream, they come to my show. Those are the comedians I'm going to book.
I love that. And I love your persistence.
Thank you.
And that's fantastic. And I actually, as you were saying that you're not like going to be on their roster, just wait. You will be. You will be. I know it.
Another 25 years, Wendy, I'll get there.
Where do you live there? I mean, in LA?
I do, yeah. I live I live in West Hollywood.
Oh, I used to live in West Hollywood.
Where do you live now?
I live in West Hills, which is like near Woodland Hills.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be weird if we were in the same house right now?
Well, Wendy, you mildly like upgraded. That's what you did.
From West Hollywood to West Hills.
Yes, I think because you went to the Hills. You know, the Hills is like an upgrade. That's what it is.
I'm suburban now. I have dogs, and
that's right. You're married now. You have a very nice husband. No, it's amazing. What was that a thing for you? Like, you know, when you were, I mean, look, you started off comedy in what year?
1985, October 25th.
Wow. And when you started, Wendy, like, was it like a thing? I mean, you started off in Boston, you said, right? You started off in Boston. So what are you doing? You're just like, one day you're like, I know it said that you were doing comedy after, during college, because you went to college and got your BA in psychology, magna cum laude. And then you were like, I'm also going to do stand-up. So you just kind of took a turn. You were like, I'm not going to be a psychologist or anything. I'm just going to go do stand-up.
Well, it was after college. I thought I was going to be a therapist.
Wow.
But instead I went into therapy. And, but honestly, I thought I was going to be a therapist. So I worked at the Mass Mental Hospital, and I realized I'm like, I don't want to be around this. It was really depressing. Yeah. And I was depressed. I was depressed, like clinically depressed. Mm-hmm. So I was looking for something to do after work. And I was either going to become a big sister, like there were organizations, or I was going to take a class at the Cambridge Center for Adult Education. And I took the class, and it was called How to Be a Stand-Up Comedian. And when I saw that in the catalog, it was like I heard angels. It was like this epiphany. Like I didn't even know there was such a class.
Wow.
I don't know if you felt the same way when you stumbled upon stand-up as a job or something that you could do. Yeah.
My journey was just so strange in the way I got into stand-up. It's almost like it's weird how I got into stand-up. But I want to hear your story, and then I'm going to tell you mine.
Okay. So I took this class, and the teacher was his name was Ron Lynch, and he has since
Lynch? He's around,
yeah, he still runs a show he runs a show in LA. He moved from Boston. He's been on the Sarah Silverman program, and he's in voices and movies, and he kind of took me under his wing.
Wow.
And he was like my mentor and my mother. Like he was so nice. And I just started going to open mic, and I knew that I wasn't like good at all. And I don't want to say bomb, but it was like hard at the beginning, right?
Yeah.
But I knew that it was like what I should be doing. Now I'm not so sure, but I knew at the time.
I am pretty sure, Wendy, that this has been your calling all along.
So I did a lot of stand-up in Boston, and then 6 years later, I got seen by The Tonight Show, and I quit my day job.
Wow!
And I had my day job that whole time. By then I was working at a college. So I left the psych field because, again, it was too depressing. Yeah. But it really was this thing, like, I thought I'd rather make 100 people laugh than one person cry, and instead of being a therapist. But there are very similar jobs, actually, being a therapist and being a comedian. Like, right. We're trying to elicit an emotion, and it's 45 or 50 minutes. And there's one more. What is it? I forget. Relying on the couch. I don't know what it is. I can't remember.
I would say reading people.
Yeah, definitely reading the room.
Reading the room, reading people.
Yeah. Like, knowing when to be quiet.
Knowing when to be quiet. Even like talking to someone and having the ability to break stuff down very quickly.
Right.
That's a therapist and a comedian skill set. I mean, my goodness. Wendy, how long were you doing stand-up before you got your first TV gig, your late night parents?
It was 6 years.
Wow.
But again, things progress faster now. So it was probably 2 or 3 years for you.
I haven't done late night, not yet.
But you've been on TV.
I've been on TV. I have a new show coming out on Disney Plus called Helpsters. It's the new Sesame Street.
Oh, I love that.
I worked with Muppets. It was so much fun.
That is the cutest thing.
Yeah, it was the best. I actually asked them. They reached out to my agent and they were like, would like to offer Mona this role. And I was like, is this a scam? They're like, no, these people are legit. Like, they're doing this thing called Helpsters for Disney Plus. And I was like, oh. And they were like, they saw you, they love your work, and they want to offer you this role. I was like, I don't even have to audition. They were like, no, they just want to give you this role. And they gave me this role. How cool.
Oh my God. That's so cool. So when is that coming out?
It's supposed to be coming out. It was supposed to come out this year, 2020, in December. But I don't know. I think maybe it got pushed because of the pandemic. Who the hell knows?
But did you already shoot some of it?
Oh, yeah, we shot the whole thing already.
Okay. Oh, yeah. I love Sesame Street.
I know. I mean, listen, honestly, I was born and raised in Pakistan, and I moved when I was 15. So for me, like, even in Pakistan, we grew up on Sesame Street. Like, that was the show we watched as kids. So I was just like, this is like, it's surreal.
That's
to be
incredible.
Like, we're doing something like, oh my God, I grew up watching this. Like, this is insanity.
I can't wait to see you in that.
I know, I want to see too. I'm like dying to see it. I actually wanted to ask you, when you did that crowd of 10,000, how much time did you do? And did you when you stepped on stage, were you like overcome with like this emotion? You were like, all right, I got to shake it off and I just got to go do my thing. Like, what was like going through your mind?
I think I was just a little in shock. And I can't remember actually, but when I have to perform, I get nervous each time, but not like nervous like I got when I sang karaoke recently. Because that's something I've never done before. And I don't mean recently in the past 10 months, but I mean like
pre-pandemic.
Pre-pandemic.
Yeah.
But I get, it's like I have no adrenaline left after performing for 35 years because I get nervous all the time. But I always remind myself, you've done this hundreds of times. Yeah. So this is just one more show. Yeah, there are lots and lots of people. So, but I have a feeling they couldn't hear me that well. Because
nobody Can you hear me in the back?
That was an interesting night because Trump had just gotten elected and Wanda Sykes was very vocal about how unhappy she was. I'm not political in my act.
Yeah.
I can be online. I can be on Twitter.
Sure.
And, but I feel like I don't want to divide the audience.
Yes.
More than I have to.
Understand.
But I so appreciate people who are political and well, if they have my views. So Wanda went on, and half the audience was not happy with her because they were Trump supporters. And it was hard to watch.
Yeah.
5,000 people getting, but she's one of my idols.
Wanda's great. She's great. She's such a powerhouse. She's amazing. We were talking about how we got into comedy. We were talking about our journeys into comedy. I was never, comedy was never part of the conversation, like ever. Mainly because I grew up in a conservative Pakistani Muslim household. Nobody does comedy to make a living. Like, that's not a thing. You go, become a doctor, you become an engineer, you become a lawyer. In my case, you get married, you get knocked up, you have 5 kids, and that's it. That's your life, Shut up and raise the children. And that was never really part of the equation. But I knew from a very young age that I wanted to be a performer, but I really couldn't tell my family that because my family was just going to shut that shit down. They weren't going to have any of it. So I waited. It was very strategic on my part. I waited till I turned almost 18. And then I was like, hey, guys, I came out of my artist closet and I was like, ta-da, artist in the family, want to be a performer, not stand up. We just want to be a stage actor. And my family gave me an ultimatum, Wendy. They said either you're going to go to college and become a physical therapist. I don't know why they were obsessed with that. Or I was going to be sent back to Pakistan and I was going to be married off. Yeah. Those were my options, Wendy.
So you acted, I don't know. So what did you do?
I got into a massive fight with my family one night. I packed up my bags and I left. We used to live in Jersey City at the time. I was new to America. I was only in America like 3 years.
3 years. You said you moved when you were 15.
That's right. So by the time I'm already gone.
You chutzpah.
Talk about chutzpah. So much chutzpah.
So now they must be like killing themselves with happiness. Wait, I just saw a gray hair. Hold on.
Let's not get crazy. I don't know what you're talking about. I can't say anything unless you.
I have like tinsel.
Yeah, let's not get crazy about the. I think my family has come to terms with the fact that I am going to do what I'm going to do, and they just have to deal with it. And besides, it's like there's the thing. The moment you start making your money, the moment you don't ask them for any help, they leave you alone.
Right. People say, what did your parents think when you told them you wanted to be a comedian? I said, they just want me to, as long as it makes me money.
That's it. As long as you're like, making money, in my case, as long as I'm not asking them for money, they're like, right. Do whatever you want. Right.
Well, plus you are a doctor on the side, right? No.
Oh yeah, I would. Wendy,
I'm in love with my physical therapist.
Really? Oh, that's great.
Well, 2 years ago, I was hit by a car. I don't know if you read this about me.
I did read this about you, and we were going to come to that. So I'm glad you're bringing it up.
Like 6 years ago, my husband and I were hit by a drunk driver, but that's not the same story. Wow. But 2 years ago, I was walking across my treadmill. No, I was walking across the street, and a Cadillac just plowed into me. And she broke one leg and both feet. And, well, now I'm just going to tell a joke.
Wendy, you can tell whatever you want.
This is my favorite joke. It's not everybody's favorite joke. It's my favorite joke that I ever wrote. So you know how you wake up sometimes you don't know where you are?
Yes.
So I passed out.
Every day.
So I passed out. I woke up. I didn't know where I was, but I knew I wasn't at home because somebody was vacuuming. That's my favorite joke that I've ever written. It's not even the best.
I think it's a great one.
But so the story goes on. So the woman who hit me, I'm not even allowed to talk about it, but
the person
said that I wasn't in the crosswalk, and that the person that I was walking with picked me up out of the street and put me in the crosswalk. But I was by myself, so there was nobody else there with me, so nobody picked me up. Anyway, so they operated and they had to put a rod in my leg, but they put the rod in wrong. And so my feet were like this.
Whoa.
So they had to re-break the bone. And anyway, it was 9 months that I was in bed. And you have a lot of time to think. And I realized just how grateful, like the older I get, this happens too. I just am so grateful for every day.
Yes.
And you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And so I hadn't been performing for a couple of years. And then the pandemic hit, so I've been home for a long time. But I like performing online.
Oh, you like it? Oh, that's good.
I do.
I do want to know, did this woman get repercussions? Did she?
Well, she had. We settled.
You did.
We settled
Okay.
out of court, and so.
Was she drunk? Was
No.
she older?
No. Just. She's just. I was so skinny that she didn't see me. No, I was just in her blind spot, you know.
Jesus.
I was in her blind spot, and I had witnesses. Anyway, the point is, wow. I met these two. I went to physical therapy.
Yeah,
and I love my physical therapist. I said they remembered more about me than my therapist does.
You're like, can you combine both kind of therapies with you?
I know. Plus, they made me feel so good physically.
Oh my God. That's amazing.
So,
that's amazing. When did you start going to therapy, or have you been to therapy?
Oh, 16, but on and off. Yeah,
I've been in therapy consistently for 13 years. Yeah,
and
single-handedly saved my life. I started EMDR therapy this week.
Oh, that's like the sound?
No, that's the REM, rapid eye movement therapy.
Oh.
Amazing.
Really?
Amazing. It's amazing.
What is it, to solve one problem or just a personality thing? Or
it's for people who've experienced a lot of trauma. It's for people that have a lot of trauma in their brain, which I do. So I grew up in a very a domestically violent household. So I just grew up with a lot of domestic violence. So even when we were in Maxton, even when we moved here, it was just like a lot of violence. So I think my brain got chaotic. So my brain is gets really fucked up sometimes. And then I have to take a seat back and then just go in and just try to put the pieces of the puzzle together and just try to fix it and patch it up and then go back into my life.
Well, doing stand-up, you're taking this, it could be chaos.
Yeah.
The audience, it could be totally out of control, but you are putting that together. And so that's probably therapeutic in a way.
Oh, I think that's the number one thing for me that I missed during the pandemic is that human contact, right? The connection of standing up on stage and having the ability to connect with people and talk in a way that, that just is so therapeutic and empowering. It's just, it calms my brain. It can be torturing. It's sometimes when the set doesn't go well or somebody doesn't like your stuff or somebody gets in your face and wants to fight you because of something you said. I can be a little edgy. I've had edgy shit happen in my life, Wendy. People look at me and they're like, why do you talk edgy shit? I'm like, because I've lived an edgy life. What do you want from me? Like,
well, that's why you're a comedian.
Right.
You have that to talk about.
Right.
I've never bombed. So no, I'm kidding. I always say that when I've bombed, I mean, it doesn't happen that much anymore. Although I had a show about 5 years ago that I was like, I have never been on stage before. What is going on? You know,
was it a private event or what was it?
Yeah, it was just this weird experience. But I'm gonna move on from that. But what it feels like is everything that made me want to do stand-up in the first place.
Yeah.
I felt like ashamed and just isolated and panicky. Like beyond, I didn't know what to do. So I guess, and sad. Like, oh my God, this sucks.
Yeah, because it's our world, right? It's like, this is like, I pride myself on the skill, and now I can't like even deliver on this. Like, then what is the point of existing?
I know. And it's so personal, and it should just be professional, but it takes a long time to
learn to separate those two things.
Yeah. But EDR, is that what it's called? EDR?
EMDR. EMDR.
That's ecstasy, isn't it?
No.
That's MDM.
Yeah, I couldn't afford that.
I'm OG, so.
You're an OG. Yeah, I always smoke the OG Kush. That's what I The OG Kush is what I smoke. No way. I mean, do you feel like, you mentioned about being panicky and shame. And, I often, whenever I have like emotions like that come up, especially when it comes to stand-up comedy, there's like that shame thing you talk about. I immediately go into my therapy mode and I'm like, where does that go back to in my childhood? Like, who taught me that? Somebody taught me that. That's a learned behavior. How do I learn that?
Very self-reflective. Does the pot help?
Oh, the pot helps a lot.
See, I stopped a year ago, but I'm thinking about taking it up again.
Wendy, this is not the year to be giving up drugs.
I know. I'm like, could my timing be any worse?
Drugs. This is the year to pick up drugs, alcohol, anything goes to just sedate yourself to get through this garbage year.
I don't know. Well, it was last December, and but I've smoked pot my whole life, so I just thought I'm going to give it up now. And it's been a year, and I'm like, maybe.
Yeah.
What is somebody writing?
Mr. B said therapy is so important after this pandemic. I definitely needed a tune-up. Childhood stuff definitely leaves an imprint. Not to get all psychologist on you here. Where do you think that shame part comes in for you?
I don't know. I think you need to be my therapist. Mr. B is in martini heaven. I think we should do a show with like help people solve their problems.
Yeah.
Oh, hold on.
Wendy, this has to be a first. I swear, no one has ever done this. Is a first right now.
I'm just joking. I'm a prop comic at heart. I'm just trying to make you laugh, Rona.
Well, you don't even have to try that hard. You're just always funny. So you're just fantastic.
I have this 80-year-old friend, and she says, "I just look at you and I laugh," and I'm like, I don't even know if that's a compliment.
No, it's absolutely a compliment. Do you feel like, do you know Carol Montgomery? Do you know?
I do.
Yeah. So I recently had Carol on my live stream. She's great.
She's great.
She's fantastic. Were you invited to be a part of her Showtime special, Women of a Certain Age? Did you do that one?
I didn't, because I was in bed with a broken leg and 2 broken feet. But I was asked twice to do it. And actually my life changed after I did her show. It was like 2 Octobers ago. She did a live show here.
Yeah.
And from that, I had two people ask me if I wanted to be involved in projects, and we were working on me hosting a show. Wow. It was going to be called My Party, and it was going to be like a talk show, but it was going to be a party, a talk show. And then another guy was there and he goes, let's write a sitcom. And so I felt like I loved doing her show because there were so many funny people.
Yeah, she's fantastic. I think, I watched it and I was like, this is, honestly, Wendy, I feel like comics like myself and the younger female comic crop of comics coming up, like we owe our abilities and our opportunities to female comics like yourself. Like you guys are the ones who paved that way for us to get up on stage, right? Doesn't matter that I grew up in Pakistan. The fact that I'm a female comic puts me in the same, league as yours in the sense that like I'm like following you, but I wouldn't be able to walk that path if you guys hadn't went and created that path.
That's so sweet. And I feel the same way about my predecessors like Lily Tomlin and Phyllis Diller and was like Carol Burnett. I mean, I grew up watching even Cher. She was hilarious. Yes, so I feel similarly to you. Just that I could see like even Carol Leifer, who now I can perform with, but I would see her on the late night talk shows and go, "Ooh, I want to do that."
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What was that like for you? I was watching your set from America's Got Talent. Was that at the Radio City Music Hall? Did you perform?
Yes.
Now that is a big room.
That was about 5,000, although they took out some of the chairs because they had like cameras and stuff. So it was a little less than 5,000. But, growing up, I used to go see the Rockettes every Christmas with my parents and my grandparents. And then there I was on the stage. I decided to do America's Got Talent, even though I'd already been on late night TV shows and people were like, how come you can be on that show? But there were singers on that show who had recording contracts. So they didn't care that I had been on television before. But I decided to do it. I had seen Tom Cotter on the show and I thought, oh, that looks like fun. And then my husband and I were hit by the drunk driver. And I remember nothing physically happened to us. There were 7 cars totaled, but I was sitting on the bus bench waiting for like the cops and everything and just kind of like breathing and collecting my thoughts. And I thought, I need to get back out there. I need to like make a splash. I need to show more people that I, do something big. And that's when I decided to do America's Got Talent. It was a great experience.
How amazing. I mean, I know that Howie is just so supportive. He lights up. Anytime a comic comes, he just lights up like a Christmas tree.
I know. He's great. And actually, he wasn't allowed to vote because I knew him because my first job, my only writing job when I moved to LA was to write for a show that he had. But he's just the best. He's one of these comedians that was really influential to me early on, but I never think of him like I think of Stephen Wright. He's my favorite, and my favorite all-time comedian now is Brian Kiley, who is Conan O'Brien's head writer.
Got it.
And But
I thought Laurie Kilmartin was Conan's head writer.
They were on staff together.
Oh,
he's the head monologue writer.
Got it.
Brian Kiley is, but yes, and they're really good friends too.
Yeah. Laurie's great too. Laurie Kilmartin. I don't know if you've seen her. She did her whole journey about her father dying and her mother dying. I mean, she's beyond. She's like next level.
I follow her on Twitter, and she just she's amazing.
She's fantastic.
So, you're on Twitter?
I am on Twitter, but I don't really do so well on Twitter. I'm more of a Facebook person. I have a lot of Facebook and YouTube. I'm more on a Facebook, YouTube world. Those are the 2 places I exist a lot because I churn out so much. I live stream 5 days a week, Wendy. It's a lot. I live stream every day for an hour and a half to 2 hours every day.
And you book it yourself?
Book it myself. Yeah. I find some amazing guests who are so incredibly kind and generous and open-hearted, and they're like, yeah, I'll come do yourself. Like, I had Congresswoman Katie Hill on my podcast.
What? Oh my God.
I hit her up on Twitter. I was like, Katie, Congresswoman, I'm just such a fan of yours, and I think you're wonderful. Would you ever consider being on my podcast? She's like, yeah, hit up my assistant. Let's get.
Oh my God. Good for you.
Yeah.
You know what? You can't be shy.
Exactly. When, and it goes back to the story that you were like telling your friend, like, oh, I would love to host a show. I would love to host the Oscars. I think so much of it also is just like about telling people, and people love to help. They genuinely do love to help, but they don't know how to help you if you don't tell them what you need help with.
Exactly. You have to tell them.
Tell them.
You have to make a vision board.
I don't know about the vision board. That's a bit much.
I don't have a vision board, but I do have an Amazon wish list.
Do you?
I have Amazonnesia. I forget what I ordered, and then I get this box, and I'm like, "Ooh, what did I get?"
It's just like Christmas every other day.
Every day.
Every day is Christmas, Wendy. That's amazing. What do you have? How many comedy specials have you put out?
I have been on, I have an HBO comedy special, Comedy Half Hour. I was on a Comedy Central special called Pulp Comics. And then when I turned 50, which was 10 years ago, because I'm going to be 60 in February.
God bless you.
I did, I put out, we taped a show that I invited all my friends to. Yeah. They had heard every joke prior, but we rented the theater, and then we taped it ourselves, my husband and I, and we sold it to Showtime.
Wow.
And it's called Taller on TV. Because that's what everybody tells me when they meet me. They go, oh my God, you look so much taller on TV. Because I'm like, well, because you're standing on a TV. No, I'm standing on a TV. I fucked up that joke. But I guess I do look taller on TV because I'm only 5'2".
Are you? You do look taller. You're absolutely right. It's funny. Your show that you do at Vitello's in Studio City, I came to your show at least 5 years ago, and everybody was like, this is Wendy Liebman's show. I was like, oh my God, let me be like a total mouse. I'll be in the corner. I'm not going to make any noise.
Did you say hello?
I think I was like so nervous to say hello to you.
I said hello. I think
I said hello. And I was like, hi, my name is Mona. And you were like, oh, hello. And the show was going on. It was a packed room. And I was like, oh, this is such a great room. I would love to come and do it. But I was just like, oh, I don't think I have the courage to ask Wendy. So I'm just going to.
Anytime. I mean,
so
as soon as we get going again.
Yes, I would totally
want to make the drive from West Hollywood. I've had everybody from George Lopez to Arsenio to Tig Notaro to Nikki Glazer.
Oh, wow.
I've had hundreds of comedians on my shows.
I bet you have. What do you like about Vitello's? You just like the comfort of it? Is that like, why not like another comedy club in the Valley to do that show at?
So at the time we lived around the corner, and this was after America's Got Talent, and I thought, I'm tired of traveling because I've been flying around forever, and I just thought I just want to maybe start a room in town.
Yeah.
And so I just walked there one day, and I just kind of basically knocked on the door and said, do you want a comedy show here? And so I guess there had been a comedy show there like a couple of times, and they said, you don't really get the audience in. And I said, I'm going to go door to door in this neighborhood, and I'm going to pass out flyers. And that's what I did.
Wow.
And we made it really cheap at the beginning, like $5. And it was always packed. Yeah. It was electric. And then we raised the cover just a little bit, and people have to eat there. That's the issue. I mean, it's like not just anyway,
But that's what comedy clubs are too, right? They have to meet their basics, right? 2 drink minimum.
Right. I know. That's just the way it is. And so I always gave the comedians a little bit of money. It's not a lot. I never made a lot of money. I'm talking about it like it's in the past, because obviously since the pandemic we haven't.
It's on hold. It's on hold.
But then Michael Feinstein, who is the recording artist and has a room in New York City called 54 Below, he started the Feinstein Room at Vitello's. And so it got a little bit of a hit of like fame, and so more people were attracted and more people are coming to the shows there. And so they've redone Vitello's. Wow. It is gorgeous. The food is amazing. I'm not just saying that.
Well, the food is really good. I've eaten there multiple times. It's really
good. And it's gotten even better since 4 years ago when you said you were there.
Yeah.
And they had this cool, like, I want to say like speakeasy room downstairs, and you have to have like the password to get it.
What's the password?
Not really. It feels like that. And
yeah.
It's very, like, very cool.
Like that little, it's funny because I was watching this one interview. Apparently it was on like Daily Motion or something like that. That whole thing about Amy Schumer saying the joke, and then you were like, no, I wrote the joke first. And they were like, oh, Amy Schumer is being accused of stealing all these jokes. And Wendy Liebman has said that, that she stole my joke. And you were like, no, I didn't say she stole my joke. I just said that I've done this joke and I did it first. That's all I'm saying.
I always contended that I thought somebody must have sold it to her because it was almost verbatim. And so, it was just, when you write something, somebody else might have had that same thought. Right. I've written jokes that other people have told. And
sure.
So it just got out of hand, that whole experience. And I didn't like it. Like, I don't like controversy.
I can tell. You're not a confrontational kind of person.
No, don't talk to me about politics or religion.
I can tell. Yeah. You're like, you and I might be like the opposite in that sense. Like, because I grew up with so much chaos, I'm used to people getting in my face, and I'm just like, if you want to bring it, we can bring it. But I think when I'm around people like yourself, I just feel like my nerves get much calmer. Because you're like, no, we don't need to go there. And not that I would voluntarily go and pick fights with people or anything like that, but I can definitely tell that's not your thing. You're just like, I don't want to be around this. It's bad energy. It's just bad. It's just weird, like this kind of contentious nonsense,
I just want to talk about how gorgeous your hair is.
Oh, well, thank you. I always get a lot of compliments on my hair, Wendy. Thank you.
Oh my God. It's gorgeous.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I've been tweeting at Pantene to bring me on as their girl, but I think I might have gotten too fat.
I've been tweeting at L'Oreal. Not recently, but like when my hair is the right color. Yeah. Because it's long.
Yeah. No, good hair too.
But I never heard that.
I haven't heard.
You see, we're the same in that we are like, we want something, we have to go for it.
Exactly, Wendy. 100%. I wanted to actually ask you, now, look, you've been in the business for 35 years, so you've seen the evolution of how female comics were received and the amount of opportunities they had versus what we have today, right? Do you feel the Me Too movement and Time's Up has helped female comics get more opportunities and have the ability to excel their careers faster, or maybe excel their careers more and have more opportunities? Or do you think it's a hindrance of some kind?
The Me Too movement started a little bit when I was out of commission, healing from my accident. So I haven't been in the clubs that much to see the effects. But I know you had a show recently. I didn't see your show, but where you were talking about the male men in comedy.
Yeah.
And things coming to light. I just think it's good for things to come to light.
Yeah.
We're both with our hair. I just clicked on comments from the people watching, and I didn't realize that was happening the whole time. And I'm just like, people are so nice. Hi, Tim. Am I avoiding your question?
No.
Hi, Tim. And then somebody said I seem very positive.
Mark,
And
you have very positive energy, Wendy.
Well, I try. Look, I've spent so much money in therapy over the years. I need to get my money's worth.
Exactly.
Yeah, like even when I was hit by the car.
Yeah.
It didn't help anybody to be angry. It didn't help me to be angry. I just had to say, okay, so what are the good things from this? I get to be waited on hand and foot like the princess that I was born to be. And
how Kabbalah of you? Are you a Kabbalah?
Is that Kabbalah?
It's Kabbalah.
I'm not, but I know a little bit about it. And I know that like at one time Roseanne and Madonna were into Kabbalah.
Yeah.
I'm not very Jewish, as I mentioned up front. Like I'm kind of a bad Jew. I just took down my Christmas lights from last year. I do sing Christmas carols when I get nervous. What? What did you say?
I said if you had just left it on, it would just, full circle for Hanukkah this week. Which is like,
hilarious.
You're good. You're totally good. No, Yep.
I avoided your question because
No.
I don't really know what the answer is.
That's okay. That's totally. I mean, look.
What have you found? I should ask you because you know more.
I don't know if I know more. I feel like the Me Too and Time's Up has done very little for the stand-up comedy world. Tiny. You've had your, the Bill Cosbys and the Louis C.K.'s, now with Brian Callen and Chris D'Elia. It's nice to see justice being served. However, and I know that there is no HR in stand-up comedy. So when female comics experience sexual harassment, and there's sexual harassment, there's sexual assault, there's rape. I mean, it's like all different levels of stuff, which thank God it sounds like you haven't experienced anything on the crazy end. I'm sure you've heard crazy shit, misogynistic shit being said, or male comics being sexist or saying, oh, why should I book you? I'm not going to book you just because you're a woman, that kind of shit. But I feel like there is so much predatorial behavior that is still going down in the stand-up comedy world, and nobody's there to really put the kibosh on that shit.
Well, there's no union.
There's no union.
And
there's no union.
There's no union. There's no head of HR.
Yeah.
There's I might be a little naive, Mona, in that I never even if somebody was flirting with me, I never got it.
You didn't compute it as, oh, is that flirtation? Or did you ever have, Wendy, did you ever have misogynistic or sexual, predatorial shit being thrown at you by male comics or bookers or stuff like that?
Again, if I did, I didn't let it sink in. But in reflection, when I first started doing comedy,
yeah,
and I'm a late night person. I will stay up till 2 or whatever, even if I have a day job.
Yeah.
Wow. One night it was after a show, and the booker knocked on my door at 1 a.m. to say, I'm sure he wanted to have sex or something, but I somehow, without even bringing it up, just got him to leave. So my point is, I didn't realize it at the time that that's what he was there for. I thought he was just dropping in to say hello at 1 a.m. like people do.
Was he drunk?
Nope. Just crazy.
And this is on tour? This is while you're touring?
No, it's where I lived in Boston.
Oh wow. How did he know where you lived?
I had to fill out a form or something to get paid or something.
But you didn't open the door. You were just like,
no, he came in. I mean, he came in. Maybe I gave him some coffee or something.
Oh my God, Wendy! Goodness!
That's what I'm saying. Like, we were friends.
Got it.
But you don't come to somebody's house at 1 a.m. just for coffee.
What is it? Maybe you come for cocaine, but not for coffee.
Oh, maybe that's what he wanted.
Maybe that's what he wanted. Maybe he thought you had cocaine. And so what is he talking about to you at 1 o'clock in the freaking morning? What is
my
he
show? I don't even remember. But
and then you were like, all right, I think we should leave now.
Yeah. I said I have work in the morning, so.
And then he was like, hey.
And then he was like, oh, okay. So, just he left. So that was like my only time I ever really experienced that. Although, now that I'm thinking about it, male comics would talk to me like I was a guy. And they would talk about other women without like noticing that I was one.
Got it.
So,
because they had that kind of sexual thing going on with you, so they were just like, "Oh, you're just one of the
guys.
You're just one of the guys."
Yeah,
absolutely.
I did have short hair. So
you did have short hair. It's not even about the hair or the look. It's just the vibe. Like they feel it, right? When you put out the boner killer vibe, like nobody's coming at you with anything. I put out the boner killer vibe all day. Like I usually have a massive "fuck you" written on my forehead. So they look at me, they're like, "Yeah, we can't do anything with Mona. Like Mona's like boring. Like that's not gonna happen." Yeah, I don't know, Wendy. You said you've been doing a lot of online shows. What really touched my heart is that when you and I recently did that online Zoom show, and I was doing a very, very dark joke. A very dark joke I was doing about how there are no more about school gun shooters, and it was a dark joke. And I understand that it's not always everybody's cup of tea, but my brain works that way, and I talk about stuff like that. And then you later text messaged me, and you were like, "That was a great set, Mona." And I was like, "Okay, if nobody liked my set and everybody hated me, I still win because Wendy Liebman said I had a great set."
It was
that's all I care about.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Honestly, I was just like, "Fuck everybody."
Oh, wow!
That she loves me.
Just fuck everybody. You're hilarious.
Well, thank you very much. It's so kind of you. It's a dark joke, so I understand not everybody can be on board about it. But, it's like you sometimes take a chance with stuff like that.
Yeah. And that's your style.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you have to be true to that.
Exactly.
And I have to joke about my hair.
I joke about my hair too a little bit, but mostly bikini. That's not a joke.
About what? Pantene?
About my joke, about my bikini line, the hair, not so much.
Oh, right.
Not so much about the hair on my head. So Wendy, you said we're going to start wrapping up. I wanted to ask you, you said you're working on a couple of projects right now. What are you working on?
So for years I've been writing a musical, but during the pandemic I really sunk my teeth in. It's about 3 stand-up comedians in Vegas over Valentine's Day weekend.
Okay.
And I'm writing the music. I am musical, but I'm not trained or anything.
You're writing the music? That's amazing.
And my husband's going to help me with it because he's a composer as well.
Lovely.
And it's like an old-fashioned musical, like Oklahoma or something.
Oh, I love that.
And it's called Home on Tuesday because that's when I'm always home. Or, now I'm home all the time. But when I'm on the road, I was always home on Tuesday. So that's when I would make my doctor's appointments or
that's right.
Pick up my dry cleaning. So, and then for the first 200 days of the pandemic, I did a video update of what was going on in my life. And I swear it kept me sane. It made me get out of bed. It made me, get clean. And I have to start doing that again. But that really helped, staying connected to people and creating a little community. That's my favorite thing in the world, is when my friends become friends with each other, or my fans become friends with each other. Yeah. That's my favorite thing, is creating community. That's what we do when we do stand up, whether it's for 40 or 50 people or 60,000. It's like we're making a pop-up community.
That's correct. That's exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm doing that. And then, there was something else I'm doing, but I can't think of what it was.
You said you were writing a book?
Oh, yes, I'm writing a novel.
Oh, okay.
And I have found that this is interesting. I did a keynote speech for the Irma Bombeck Writers Workshop. Irma Bombeck she was like a columnist who wrote a lot of funny books, and she was a trailblazer. She made housewives be able to laugh at their lives. And so I gave a keynote, and in it, I realized that I needed other people to help me write. And so Annabelle Gurwitch, who's a great comedy writer and an actress, she started this online, like a Zoom with other writers, and we mute ourselves, but we are aware of each other. So it's like having people in the same room, feeling accountable to other people. So I then started one with some friends. And so every day I go online with some friends, and we don't talk until the end, but it's like really nice. And we encourage each other.
Do you feel like it helps you? Do you guys like exchange notes at the end of this call? Like nothing?
No, we don't talk about our work except to say what we're working on.
Got it.
But yes, so I've been pitching away. I've been digging away. I've been trying to write a novel.
Got it. What is the novel? Okay, got it.
It's about it's not far enough along, but it takes place in Montauk, New York.
Got it. You're a New Yorker, so that makes sense.
Yes, and for 2 years during the summer, I would be a chambermaid at the Montauk Yacht Club, and so that has informed this one character who becomes a chambermaid at the Montauk Yacht Club. But I call it something else.
And now, are you doing like weekly Zoom shows? Are you producing your own shows, or are you just usually doing other people's shows?
I'm doing other people's shows. I have thought of doing Locally Grown Online. Yeah. But for some reason, it didn't seem like something I wanted to. It takes a lot of energy, as you know, to produce anything. So I just thought that's not what I want to be doing right now.
It's exhausting. It's a lot of work.
So I've been doing other people's shows. Yeah. And the San Francisco Punchline has booked me, and I've done the Nowhere comedy show. And
love Nowhere. What's a great
I know. And then just like private shows and corporate shows. And I'm so grateful for the work.
Yeah.
So, and then I could just go into the kitchen afterwards. I don't have to go into the hotel room.
Exactly. and you're an OG. So, I mean, look, there's an OG. You are an OG all day. Wendy, where can people follow you? Where can we follow your work and see what you're up to and follow your funny tweets and your daily videos? Where can we watch?
I'm on Twitter, and that's where I post most of my jokes. Okay. And then Instagram, I was posting my...
What's your Twitter handle?
It's Wendy Liebman, Liebman. Well, it says it right there. And on Instagram is Wendy Liebman. And that's where I posted my daily videos and pictures of my new step-grandchild.
Oh, that's wonderful.
I'm a grandma, so maybe I should leave my hair gray.
Oh, my God. I know that you have... Your husband has 2 sons from his previous marriage that you helped raise.
I did. They were 4 and 8, and now they're 25 and 29, I think.
Wow.
And they're amazing human beings and very, very tall. One works for Wayfair in Boston. Wayfair, the furniture company. He's a data engineer, so he does all the algorithms to tell you what you need next.
Yeah.
And then my other stepson is a musician, and he just had a baby.
Oh, that's wonderful. How does it? Have you seen the grandkids? I mean, was it born during the pandemic?
She was, but we got all of our shots.
Okay.
And we've gotten to meet her twice.
Aww.
She's so little, and I have never in my life changed a diaper. And I'm not starting now.
No, you're not starting now. You're like, here's the baby back. You change the diaper, and when it's all clean and nice, give it back to me. It's fun.
But it's really fun. It's really, really fun.
Yeah. Did you know kind of early on, Wendy, that you were just like, I'm probably not going to have kids? Well, or was that like a later realization for you?
I couldn't have kids according to my lease, but I
can't, Wendy.
I
think I'm about to.
I know. I was never one of those women who had to have a baby. Like, I remember one time I thought of having a baby, and I was online for something, and by the time I got up I was like, no, I don't think so. But
that's not one,
right? Yeah. But I feel like I gave up my kids for my career. So
your career is your kid.
Yeah, and my jokes are my babies, I guess. But it wasn't I feel like it wasn't a decision that I made. It was a decision that made me. Like, I had met a man, he already had 2 kids. And
you were.
So.
I think I've just kind of, in my late 30s now, I've just kind of reached a point. I think in my 20s, I was like, maybe I'll have a kid. And in my early 30s, maybe I'll have a kid. In my 30s, I'm like, hell no, I'm not having a kid. I was like, just no.
It's intense. It's intense. I have a niece and a nephew, and now a granddaughter. So.
I have 7 nieces and nephews.
It's enough.
That's plenty. That's plenty. We don't need to make another eyeball. We're good. We're so good.
I mean, I would like to see how cute she would be, but that ship has sailed. Although I did think of writing a movie where a woman in her late 50s remembered she had frozen one of her eggs and decides to have a baby.
That's actually a true story.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I actually know a woman who did that.
So she became the grandmother right away?
She became, well, yeah, you're right. You would think. There's a woman, she froze her eggs and then in her 50s became pregnant. Yeah, had a baby. Trip, yeah. There's a lady in India who had a baby at 65.
Yeah, I did read that. And then I read another one where a woman had her daughter couldn't bring the baby to term, so she carried the baby.
Surrogate, yeah, she was surrogate, yeah.
That's
Wendy, that got me a little creepy. I was like,
I know.
The turkey baster? Oh, goodness, I'm not so sure about that turkey baster.
Well, I used to say my parents are in their 60s and they still have sex because they want grandchildren. But now I could say it about myself now. My husband and I.
Well, I think your stepsons are easily fulfilling that role for you.
Yes.
So they're taking up the workload, Wendy, is what they're doing for you. So that's wonderful. Well, Wendy, this has been a great conversation. This is not going to be our last. I'm definitely going to, stalk you a little bit and then bring you back on again if you would let me. So
when I finish my musical.
Yes.
And my book.
Yes.
You're so sweet. And what a pleasure to talk to. And I need your skincare routine.
My skincare routine?
Oh my God.
Depression, sadness, and abandonment. How's it
and
look?
What?
Abandonment. How's it looking?
And I can't wait to see your show. What's it called? Helpsters?
Helpsters on Disney
Helpsters.
Plus. Yeah, it's on Disney Plus. Yeah, it should be coming out soon, hopefully. So yeah,
that's awesome.
Wendy, I had such a great time chatting with you. Thank you so very much for your time.
Me too. That was so fun. And thank you to your audience for watching. And,
Mark and Mr. B and James and Tim and AB and everybody here loved you. They just loved
mostly guys.
It's all dudes, all of them.
Dudes. Well, you know what, Mark? You should definitely do that writer's room thing.
Yeah.
And James, I recognize that name. And thank you, Mona.
Thank you, Wendy. Have a great weekend.
Okay, you too. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Thank you.
I've been thinking about what to get you because it's the thought that counts.
And listen, and that counts a lot. So this was my Christmas present, so thank you. Bye. Wendy. That was the lovely and amazing Wendy Liebman. Hope you guys enjoyed the conversation. I definitely did. You guys cannot wait for the weekend. Have a good night. I will see you on Monday. Have a great weekend. Stay safe out there. 99.